Okay, now we see how we're going to change the font of this the first one. Okay, so now we go in our index. So we remove this and we go this h2, and we type we are the artist. We are the artists, and we alright, so we put a we are the artist, and we are creating new heading. Alright, so we have to put a ID of artist. You can put anything you like, guys. You feel free, and you can put anything you like as long as it makes sense to you and you remember. Even you can just try not to put codes like 1 2 3 or because it's hard to remember. Anyway, whatever you guys, if the name of your CSS name matches to this ID, it's gonna change the color, or it's gonna change whatever you guys want. But if not, it's not gonna change anything. So now we're gonna check our browser, and you can see our text here. That's our text. So now we want to go in there and change inside this CSS. So now we go there, and our we put a hash artist. You open our curly braces, we close our curly braces. Just don't forget to do this. So we're gonna change the font of this div. So we're gonna put a font family. We put a font family. You can put a Georgia. Alright, so times New Roman, and times serif. Alright, and we're gonna put a size. What's the font size? Font size, as you guys can see, font size is here, and we put a 1.2 em. Alright, now we go and check. That's our things changed, our font styles changed, and that's our the size is also changed. So imagine if you guys go there and put a 10 point, you guys can put a say 10.2 em. We'll see what's the 10.2 em look like. You guys can see that's a huge. Alright, so the reason it's showing up because we are here, we says if we put a 1.2, if we put a 1 em, it means that's the default size. So 1 em, that's the default size. Yeah, that's the default size. So if you put a 2.0, that's a double than the default size. Okay, as you guys can see, that's a double the default size. Whatever the default size of h1 we target, and it's going to be double. That's a one way of targeting this h1, and we target specifically the h1. Where is it? This h1, which we call it artist, and we gave an ID. We gave here we specify what sort of fonts we want. It's a time New Roman times serif, and that's a font family inside this Georgia, and times New Roman or times serif, that's the font family, and we specify we want twice the size or 10 times the size. You guys observe that. So if you put a very big, it goes very big, and if you put a very small, that goes very small. Alright, then you guys might be thinking that what if I want that's my H1 heading 1, and this is my heading 1. I want it the same size, I want the same style. So how are we going to do that? You can't just put a H1 ID to every H1, as you guys can see here, because this div's got an ID, this H2's also got an ID, and this div's also got an ID. So what you do is you remove this, is you put you've got a H2 H1 here heading 1. Okay, this is heading 1 and heading 2. So what we do, if you want to target all the H2s, heading 2s, you just put a H2 here, you don't put an ID here. Alright, so instead of putting this artist, you just put a H2. That's it. There is no hash, there is nothing in the front, just put a H2, and it's going to render all these H2s. As you guys can see, this is H2 and this is H2. It applies to both of them. You can put your H1. If you put a H1, it's going to apply to all the H1s. If you put a H2, it's going to apply to all the H2s. Now it's not looking for any ID or anything. As soon as it encountered these H2s anywhere, it's going to change the font. But this one's is going to target specifically that one. So what if we want to do the, instead of this first div, you want to do in the entire your entire HTML page? So just copy this one, get rid of this, and just put a HTML. That's it. Open your curly braces, close it, and we put it. So now it applies to the whole HTML. See, it's not there is no ID here, there is nothing, there is see this where is the first div? Okay, one div. See, this is one div. Even though it's got an ID, but we are not doing anything to this ID. So now what if, because we are doing the entire HTML from, because we are targeting the HTML. HTML is very clever. It knows straight away, can read the CSS file very easily. So if it knows that if you put a HTML, it means you're intending for the HTML to target the entire tag from all the way from top to the bottom. So where the tag starts and where the tag ends, that's what it's going to target. If you put a body, it's going to target all the body from there all the way to where it ends. The body ends. And see, if I want to put a body, I can do like body. That's it. Open my curly braces and close my curly braces. I can put anything I want. Alright, so now we are moving ahead with the body, and we look inside our see our picture sitting here, and when we do this, now we are moving ahead. So what if I want to move my picture in the middle? So if I move to the right, or I move here and there, so you can do that. You can do your cascading style sheet. You can do the here, and you guys say if your H1, if you want to target H1, I can either do here style as I've done it in the previous video. You can put a margin. You can put a margin 1 px. It means trying to margin from 1 pixel. Let's see what's the margin of 1 px. This is now is getting here and there. So if you want to, guys, want to move this in the middle, you guys must put a margin left. If you put a margin left, it means we are targeting the margin left. Okay, so you guys see that we target the margin left and it starts moving. Okay, so if you put a 10 pixel, how about 10 pixel? You guys can see it start moving from left. So how about if you put a 100 pixel? See, it starts moving. Alright, so how about we need, say, 500 pixel. Don't forget these pixels at the end, because see, it moves all the way here and now it looks in the middle. You guys can do the same here, but what happens that you guys, instead of here, just copy this margin left, get rid of the rest. Instead of that, just put ID. You can do like this, but if you want to do specifically one, and if you don't, you can do ID. Okay, ID, you can put a first head, our hey, first head. All right, because it sits in the ID. Okay, first head. So you go here and you put here your first head, first head. Okay, so now the first head, just put a margin. That's a margin, your margin left, and you guys can see we remove this one from here. There is no styling here. Is awesome. That's what I put it here. The first H1 cascading style sheet is awesome. All right, so we go here and see. You guys can see our text, but hasn't moved because we already put it inside our cascading style sheet CSS files. 500 pixel. You guys can do target anything inside the HTML, anything, and by anything I means anything inside this HTML. So you guys can see this one has got a photo, our photo. To move the photos, you guys need to put inside the div, or you guys it's not recommended to put inside this a tag, because a tag is something different. But if you guys want to move, you can put inside the div your photos. If I want to put inside the div, because it's a lot easier, makes sense if you guys put your photos or anything inside the div, and you close your div here. It looks more clean. It looks more you guys can read it that this divs here. ID, your ID is my photo. So you guys now know that this is my photo. The my photo is here. And if you go, we go here and it says ID of my photo, open your curly braces and close it. So what you want to do, say if you want to do background, say your background, you guys want a background of red. Alright, See, this divs runs from here, as you guys can see, because we put a wrap the div around this picture. This div runs all the way here and runs all the way here. It is from the x-axis, as you guys can see, because the screens of the computer is x-axis run horizontal to y-axis run vertical. So that's how the screen is inside the computers. And inside this, you guys see there is a tiny pixels here. You guys can see, but if you are computer engineers, you guys can see that there is some sort of formulas or softwares. You guys can all go there and look inside these pixels. There's a small pixels here, so the X runs like that and there's Y runs like that. So that's how we done the cascading style sheet, which is the H1. We moved it margin left, so margin left from here all the way here. If you put a margin, it's gonna go there up, down, left, right, whatever. So because you're not specifying from which side, but if you just put a margin left, it's gonna render from it's gonna move this one from left and right. But because we did not specify this div, because that's our div red, because we did not specify how much and to what length or whatever. So because we only specified that my photo, which is this one, my photo, and we just apply the things from left to right, whatever. So okay, we want to move margin left this div. Margin left. So now margin left. Okay, we want to move it 50 pixels. Alright, so we go there and check. It has moved 50 pixels. So we remove this red one, and we say that's we want to move to a parallel to this one, 500 pixel. We're gonna move theirs to 400 pixels. So what's the 400 pixel looks like? As you guys can see, the 400 pixels moved our picture all the way here. As you guys can see, we start to putting style. As you guys see the styles on our pages, and you guys can practice. Alright, so we've done our first div, then my photo, which we applied the margin, and we've done our background and H2, and we done our all our IDs. Alright, so just to wrap up, today we learned the cascading style sheet. What is cascading style sheet is? The cascading style sheet is what we that's a styling for our HTML. If you want to create a HTML and moving the divs here and there, and we learned that we have to put every ID for every div in order to target it if you want to change the style. And we also learned how to create this mystyle.css here, and we target this the body, and we target our the margin left. We learned the font and the font size, and also the different methods of targeting our divs to put an ID in our div. Alright, so that's it for this video. In the next video, we're gonna go in depth inside this styling and my style, and don't forget to put your link on the top to link your HTML with your CSS file, and don't forget to put this CSS at the end. So you practice with this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, till next video, see you, bye.